I know exactly what you're thinking. You're thinking, Brennan, or not Brennan. Where have you been? I've been sitting here, waiting for your video. And it's been like 2 weeks, and there's been nothing. You've given up on us. You made a video revealing a magic trick, and a magician's threatened you, maybe, and now you've quit. You've stopped. You're no longer making videos. It's over. This isn't true. This is not true. I'm actually pretty cool news. I'm moving. So, just been a little busy. And things are kind of hectic right now. Going to be hectic for a couple more weeks. So, going to be a little bit of a lag, but this video is going to bridge the gap. Also, I know one of the other things you've been wondering is like, hey, why are you no longer funny? You've been so boring recently. You were pretty funny, and now it's just dull things. Like, oh, who wants to learn actual magic? I want to see you, like, do funny stuff. Well, I'm still funny, so here's a video of me telling jokes. Don't know where I got them from, except for one. I know where I got one from. That's it, though. So here are the jokes as I remember them. So here we go. Me telling a couple of jokes. This first one is a little spooky here. It's more spooky than me not being centered right now in this camera. I think the center is like right here probably, and I'm like over here. It's fun though. I can put like little clip art images up here to illustrate the point of some of my jokes. That's why I did it. Anyway, so the first joke, there's a guy who's walking home, right? And he's walking home, and it's dark, and it's raining too, and it's cloudy, and there's lightning. And he's walking home from somewhere that he was out late at night. It's midnight. Let's say it's midnight. Actually, let's say it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. No, it's midnight. I think midnight's a little bit more spooky just because of the, yeah, I don't know. So it's this dude, and he's walking home, and then all of a sudden he hears like a little bump behind him, or a thud or something. I don't know. Let's go with a bump. He hears a bump behind him, and he's like, oh, what was that bump? I don't know. I'm not going to turn around, though, so I'm just going to keep on walking. So he keeps walking forwards, and then he hears like some bumps behind him. Just he's walking, and he hears like bump, 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 and he's like, what is that? Let me turn around and look to see what that was. And he turns around, and he sees a coffin. There's going to be a clip art image of a coffin up here. And he sees this. It'll look like that. Roughly. It'll roughly look like that. Anyway, he sees it, and he's like, oh no, a coffin. That's weird. Normally they don't follow people home, hobbling behind them. But one is. So he like tries to walk home faster, and it just goes like bump, 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 following him. Like the bumps is it just kind of like hopping because it can't like walk. It's like, you know. But it does that. And he's like walking home. He's like, oh no. And then he looks around and it's still following him. So he like grabs like a stick because he's walking past like, you know, a tree or whatever. So he grabs a stick and he throws it behind him at the coffin. But the coffin just like isn't affected. So he's walking home faster now, trying to, you know, get away from this coffin. But he hears it behind him still. He hears like bump, bump, bump. And he's like, oh no. So he like gets home and his house is like, there's like a gate there. So he goes home and he like opens the gate and he closes the gate back, but the coffin just like jumps over the gate. And he's like, this is bad. This is bad news because I don't want to get attacked by a coffin. So he like goes inside and he locks the door. But then he looks around. The coffin has like somehow got inside his house. So he picks up a lamp. He picks up a lamp, right? And he throws it at the coffin. But the coffin just isn't affected by it. It just like, you know, that lamp bounces off and it shatters, but the coffin is undamaged. And he's like, oh no, this is bad. Because it's, you know, it's still following me here. Let's say he's like an axe or something. He tries to hit it with the axe. Why does he have an axe in his house? I don't know, but he tries to hit it with the axe. And the coffin just, nope, it's like, bam, I'm a coffin. I'm, you know, not damaged. But the axe like breaks in half. So he's like, uh-oh. This is bad. This is bad news. And then he went upstairs, and the coffin's like on the stairs now. It goes like, bump, 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 up the stairs, just following him up. And he's like, uh-oh. And he lives in a 2-story house. This is important. It's a 2-story house. Because that's why there are stairs. So he goes up the stairs, and he goes into his bedroom, and he locks that door, but the coffin like breaks this one down. It just doesn't care about, you know, phasing through it, whatever it did before. I don't know. So it does that, right? And now it's in his bedroom, and he like picks up like another lamp. He has a lot of lamps. He's like 2 of them, I think. So he throws this lamp at it, and still it's not affected. He doesn't have an axe here. He could try that again. I don't know what good an axe would do, but so he goes into his bathroom and he just starts throwing things. He has like a hair dryer, and he throws the hair dryer at it, and nope, just the coffin keeps like bump, 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 bump. It gets closer, and he picks up like his toothbrush. And he throws his toothbrush at it. What good would that do? He's just kind of grabbing things, trying to figure out things to throw at it. But it just keeps moving closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. But then he picks up a bottle of cough medicine, and he throws it at the coffin, and sure enough, the coffin stops. Ha! So the next joke is about this dude who lived on an island, okay? And he lived on this island. It was just him by himself, just hanging out, just chilling. He was like rich, and he loved to collect chairs, but not just any kind of chairs, but like thrones, He was like, he had this idea, he was like a king of this island, and he loved to collect thrones or chairs that looked like thrones to like sit in his house. He kept them up in his attic, right? It was just kind of like a simple house. It wasn't, couldn't have like a brick house or anything. He just had like a little house made of like grass and like straw and like mud, kind of that. But it was a nice house. It was a pretty nice house. It was him by himself with all of his chairs. So he had like chairs made of wood and metal and gold and like all this kind of crazy stuff. He would just go like all around the world, just buying thrones, buying chairs, bringing them back, putting them up in his attic, right? Because obviously he couldn't store them in his house because, he had some in his house. When his house filled up, it was like he had to put them up in his attic. He didn't know other place to put them. It's just, how it worked. So he did this, and he would like get more and more and more and more and more until his attic was like full. And then one night he was falling asleep, right? And all of a sudden his attic collapses, and all the thrones fall down through his house. They smash up all of his house, and he dies, right? Because there's like a million thrones falling on top of him. Sad stories here. Sorry, guys. So what's the moral of this story? What should you take away? Those who live in grass houses shouldn't stow thrones. Okay. So one final joke. About cars and things running on vegetable oil and other things like that. I know it's kind of like old news, whatever. This is an old joke. Also, I will say ahead of time, just a disclaimer. This joke is only funny if you've heard one specific quote, like one very specific quote. I know that like the last one was also only funny if you heard, the saying. It's like, if you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. But this one is also like that. It's very specific. But anyway, so yeah, cars running on vegetable oil. There's stuff like that where it's like, we have like buses that run on things that are more efficient now, not just like oil or diesel or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a car guy. I'm a psychology guy. I majored in, whatever. I actually have my diploma all framed and stuff now, so that's cool. It's got my name on it. But this is an older practice. People have been, like trying to make all kinds of things into fuel, like certain kinds of vegetables, like corn, clocks that run on potatoes, leaves even, some spices. In fact, Mussolini actually made trains run on time. Now that joke, I actually remember where that's from, and I'll link to the original post about it in the description, just so that's there. But yeah, hope you guys had fun watching this, because I had fun making this at 3 o'clock in the morning. Which morning, I will not say, but it is not the morning you think. Anyway, my next video will be less fun. That's why I want to make a fun one. I hope this was a fun one, but next one I'll put up in 2 weeks. And after that, maybe a 2-week break. Maybe I'll just hop on my regular filming schedule then, because I should be all moved by that point. I mentioned I was moving, right? I hope I did. If not, then oh well. But yeah, keep staying safe, because America, at least, is still in the global pandemic. Maybe it's just a national pandemic now. I think Brazil's going through some stuff too, but I'm not 100% sure. Well, I think that's everything. So see you guys in 2 weeks. Don't unsubscribe. Please subscribe, I guess. Do the opposite if you're not already. If you are subscribed, don't unsubscribe. Unless you're only doing so to resubscribe. But anyway, bye. Oh, and by the way, not to brag, but my bank just called and my checking account balance is outstanding.